Hi, my name is Vesna Karapetrova and we're here today at the Canadian Macedonian Historical Place on October 6, 2015 to interview Mr. Peter Strezos. Welcome, Mr. Peter Strezos.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story with us here for the archives at the Canadian Macedonian Historical Society. Let's begin with where and when you were born.
Well, I was born in Macedonian Greece in 1930, March the 25th.
Mm-hmm. And which village is
Well,
it?
the village in Greek, Skopje, Makedonski, Nevolijani.
Nevolijani. And we have a nice picture of Nevolijani on several books that were published for Nevolijani.
Yes.
One was in 1986 about from Risto Karadziev, and another one is from a more recent one, I believe, from Michael Dimitri, and that one is also a portrait of the Macedonian village Nevolijani.
Yes.
So that's great that you brought these books with you.
Yes.
Tell us, Peter, who were your parents?
My parents was, my dad's name was Angelo, and my mother's Tanka.
Mm-hmm. And where were they born?
They were born in the village of Nevolijani.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them.
Both of them. Do you remember what year they may have been born?
Yeah, my mother was born 1903, and my father 1904.
And were their last names the same, Strezos?
Well, as far yes, yes. Way before that was Numce, as I mentioned before.
Right, and then we have Numce was the original name.
Well, I can't trace it, but a lot of villagers were calling us Numce. So I don't know how far back it goes Numce. I cannot say because, as far as I know, it's Strezos.
Peter, we have a nice picture here, and I understand that it's a very old picture. It has your grandparents. Can you tell us who they are?
My grandfather's name is Lazo. My grandmother, Vela.
And they're sitting right at the front,
side by side there.
Okay.
And then, where do you want to start? From here I can start?
You can continue with,
okay.
If you know who the others are.
Okay. Yeah. Right here is my sister. Above that is my mother, and on the lap of my grandmother, that's me.
You're the baby.
I'm the baby. Or George, grandfather, his grandmother, grandfather. And then George, father, and George, uncle, he died in Budapest, and George, other uncle here, and that's my cousin. He was in Australia. He passed away.
What was his name?
That's Mito.
Okay.
Mito Curtis. Curtis, and my aunt. I forgot.
Okay. Now, were they? Where were they born? Like your grandparents?
They were all born in Nevolijani.
They were all born in Nevolijani.
Yes.
And what language did your grandparents speak?
My grandparents, they spoke Macedonian. Well, my dad, I didn't know. I met him first time here in Canada.
Oh, that's an interesting
but
story.
My mother could never speak Greek. She spoke Macedonian.
Did she have to learn Greek?
Well, they sent her to school there, but at old age she couldn't learn Greek. She didn't speak Greek at all. Yeah.
Okay, and when you came to Canada, you were 18 years old.
Yes.
So you remember a lot of things about your village?
I do.
Yeah. How big was your village?
3,000 people. 300 houses.
And what do you remember in terms of growing up in the village?
Well, growing up in the village as youngsters, we play football fight each other. And during the war with the Germans, our schools shut off from 1939 to 1945. And I didn't get much of education because of the no schooling. And after the war, can I continue or not?
Yes, sure.
After the war, my dad came to Canada in 1929. I was born 6 months later. So therefore, I didn't know my dad. And then when he started writing letters in 1945, my sister was responding, answering him letters. And he says, I want a letter from my son. And she answered him back, my brother cannot write very well, and that's why I'm writing you the letters. And he said, okay, I'm going to send money. I want my son to go to school. I'll send money to buy him a watch and a bicycle. They bought me the watch, but they never bought me the bicycle.
And when your sister was writing to him, to your father, what language do you think
it was? In Greek.
It was in Greek. And your sister had to go to school
to Greek schools, so did I. We couldn't speak Macedonian, couldn't write Macedonian.
Yes, you have a lot of memories probably of your school life in Nevolijani. What were some incidents that happened when you went to school?
At the school, I don't have too much memories because, as I said, at that time I was about 9 years old. I don't have too much memories, but after that, when I went to a tutor to finish public school and go to high school, that's...
Yes, so when you went to school when you were little, you didn't have a lot of memories, but you remember you had to learn in Greek, right?
That's right, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And was that the only language you could speak at school? Were you allowed
Greek,
to speak
no,
English? Were you allowed to speak Macedonian?
On the side, when nobody hears you, you can talk Macedonian, but I'm not. We had to speak Greek.
Did the children get punished if they spoke Macedonian?
They did, but I didn't get punished myself. I'm a careful individual, so I didn't get punished.
But did you see any of your friends get punished?
Yes. Oh,
what
yes.
kind of, what might have happened to them?
Use a strap at school.
So the teacher would strap them if they spoke Macedonian?
Yes.
And that was the reason they would tell them that's why they're getting strapped? And everybody would know?
It would know where.
All the children would know why they were getting strapped.
Of course, yes, yeah.
So it was very clear that nobody was supposed to speak Macedonian.
No, that's right.
Yeah, but when you went outside...
Yeah, outside you spoke Macedonian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember any, when you were in the village, do you have any memories? What are some of your memories of Nevolijani?
Wait a second, I didn't answer properly here. The language was forbidden. I forget, but Metaxa, who was in the power that time,
yes.
In 1936 and on. Before that, I think you're able to speak Macedonian.
And you didn't have a problem before?
No.
And then in 1936 you would have been...
Yeah, then I believe it was Metaxa that
right.
cut the Macedonian language and only Greek.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are some of your pleasant memories, nice memories of your village life? For example, about celebrations. Do you remember any celebrations?
Well, to be honest with you, celebrations and all that during the wartime and that was not too much happiness of any kind.
So you have memories that are quite upsetting and sad.
Yeah, you were always with the fear, the German army there, and at weddings, yeah, you went to the center of the village and you watch the dancing and so forth. That was the enjoyment.
Yes, and we have a nice picture here of a wedding in Nevolijani.
Yes, and a lot of people there to the wedding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the people, who they are?
No, not to be honest with you, no.
But it's an older picture.
It's an older picture, yes.
Yes. And when in Nevolijani, when you were going to weddings, you said there was some music and dancing.
Of course.
What
Yeah.
kind of music you usually people they were allowed to play?
Well, they're allowed to play Greek music.
Only Greek?
Yes,
Yeah? Mhm.
yes.
And the words of the songs?
No, Greek.
People couldn't sing Macedonian songs?
No.
Right. And you talked about growing up in the war.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, they're not very happy memories.
No.
What are some of the memories that you have of those war years in Nevolijani?
Well, the war years is when the Italians invaded and came in Greece there.
How old were you?
At that time, in 1939, I was 9 years old. And the airplanes came and throwing bombs. And I remember a bomb dropped not too far from my house. At that time, we ran for cover at our barn. And as we opened the door, my sister, my mother, and I, as the door was open, one of the parts from the bomb hit the door. Lucky it didn't get me, would have cut me in half or my mother. We didn't get injured. And after that, like you say, over the war, that's it. But the German army was a disciplined army.
You remember the soldiers and can tell us about
Yes, the best army I ever seen in my life.
what
because
kind
we
of
had,
things did you see?
Well, we saw they're very disciplined. They obeyed the rules of the German their country. They didn't go after the woman, that's number one. It's not like Italians or Bulgarians or Greeks. A woman had to be hidden or stay away from there, but the German army didn't touch her. In our village, I don't know about other places, but they were very, very good government.
Did the people communicate with them?
Well,
What kind of communication did you have?
No
with the
communication. I don't know, unless there was an interpreter, no communication. Sprachen in Deutsch, and that's about all. Yeah.
Okay, and we have here a picture of a grave in Nevolijani.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little about that?
That there, those 7, I believe there are 7 there.
7 soldiers? Or
No, what is that? That's a cemetery.
the cemetery?
Yeah, 7, they've been executed.
7 young men?
All those men,
So they were young men from Nevolijani
yes,
who were all executed by
by the Greek government.
And for what reason?
Well, for the espionage, they said that they were working with the communists, and they were espionage and that, and we had people that gave to the Greek government bad evidence, and they got a court-martial. You said the traitors or the spioni? Spioni, what do you call them?
The traitors, yeah?
Traitors. They told so many people what they did against the government. A lot of them were released when my mother was released, and a lot of them went in martial court. And this is where my cousin was executed with the other six people.
The one that you saw who was in jail.
That's right. And he was only 19 or 20 years of age, just had married, and he didn't have any children.
And the grave that we saw, he was one of them as well, together with.
Oh, I didn't see no grave, because at that time when they got killed,
yes,
I was in Athens. I went in Athens and I stayed there 3 months before I come here. But when I heard that they got killed, I went in the bar and I got so drunk 3 days I couldn't get out of bed because I cried so much for a week.
Because this is before you came to Canada.
Yes.
And you found out that sad news.
Yeah.
And
apparently, when I was in Athens, I was there 3 months, and I couldn't come over. And finally, I had to sign that Greece is not a country of mine anymore. I can never go back. Ms. Brisaya, in other words, Ms. Brisaya rubbed me off.
They erased your name.
Erased my name, yes, exactly. Yes.
Having lived in Greece, like in Macedonia.
Yeah.
And so that was on your way here to Canada. It was interesting when you were talking about all the people that were put in jail from Nevolijani, like your mother, your sister.
Oh, a lot of them, yes, a lot.
No, this was during the Civil War,
yes,
right? So it was right after the Second World War,
yes, exactly.
Right? Do you recall why the war happened? What was the main reason?
Because of communism.
Tell us about that.
Or apparently, to my judgment, our people, the Macedonians, had not too many educated people. Okay, when you don't have education, you cannot run an army. We were misled by Zachariadi and Makarios.
They were the leaders of the Greek Communist Party.
They were. And they kind of put the flame to the Macedonian people. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. And everybody went to the mountains.
Right. So what did they promise the people?
They promised that they're going to be free.
The language, Macedonian?
I suppose so.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what happened, and this is why a lot of people lost their lives, and we didn't accomplish of anything. We were misled by the Greeks. Like I said, that's only my opinion.
Right. And then your mother got out of jail, right?
Yes.
You were still in Nevolijani.
Yes.
And the war was still going on.
Yes.
And tell us about how your decision came for you to come to Canada. Why did you decide?
Oh, I didn't decide. My father, like I mentioned, came 1929. Prior to that, he was in Australia for 3 years. Then he come back to the old country. He served the Greek army. And after that, he came here in 1929. I was born 6 months later. So the first time I seen my dad is, like I mentioned, when I came to this country in 1948.
And how old were you at that point?
18.
So you never saw your father until you were 18?
No. I was raised by my grandfather, and it was not easy because during the wartime, there was no communication, no letters, no money sent, nothing. We had to survive. And my grandfather had to teach me all the farming has to be done. And as a 13 years of age, I went up, I plow, I harvest, I seed.
What kind of plants did you plant?
Excuse me, wheat, corn, beans, kidney beans. We had a vine tree. Oh, thank you very much.
Vegetables?
Oh, vegetable was the garden, not the farm. The farms are not like here. A farm, you have one farm over there, 1 acre here, 2 acres there. They're spread all over the place.
And you mentioned that when your father was here, when he was here in Toronto, your father.
Okay, that's okay.
What work did he do?
Pardon me?
Your father was in Toronto all this time that you were growing up?
Yes.
Do you know what kind of work he did here in Canada?
Oh, he was a restaurateur. He was a restaurant all the time.
He owned restaurants?
No, at the beginning he worked for a year or so. They were living on Shoemaker Street, about 12 of them, because they had no money. One guy would be working and feed everybody else. And he was telling me when he came to this country, it's not like now we have money that we spend money like crazy, or children, or especially our children. And my father had to walk from Shoemaker Street to Sunnyside looking for a job without the shoes. So anyway, when he got a job, he started working for Basil's. Basil's was a famous restaurant here on Yonge and Gerard. And
it was a Macedonian who had it?
No, Greek.
He was Greek.
Okay. And he got fired 3 times, but he got hired again. And my dad says, "Why you fire me? Why do you hire me? Because you do the job. That's why I hire you." But he got a temper, which he did, my dad. So after that...
do you remember why he was fired?
Oh, because he had a hot temper. He would fight with the cooks or the waitresses. You know, when the waitresses go there to come, hurry up, Angelo, hurry up, and then he blows his
Yes.
Okay, and then another Greek guy from Greenwood restaurant on Danforth, he went, he says, Angelo, you come and work for me, I'll make you a chef. He says, how much you gonna pay? Oh, he says, $12 a week. He says, I'm getting here $18, am I gonna come for 12? But he says, Angelo, I'm gonna teach you to be a chef. Later on in life, you're gonna make more money. And he was right. He proved himself to be a good businessman here in the city of Toronto. Mm-hmm. The older people that knew my dad was a great restaurant man.
Yes, did he? So he had restaurant in Toronto.
Yes, he did.
Do you know any of the names?
Well, the first one he had was on Eglinton Avenue Road. Was called the La Plaza. He was there from 1937 to 1950. And then he had
Eglinton and
Avenue Road.
Avenue Road.
By the Eglinton Theatre. Another one we had, which we didn't do too well, at the Ontario Stockyards, where the live cattle count. We were there 4 years. And then after that, my dad retired, but he put me in partnership with my brother-in-law, my sister's husband.
Mm-hmm. And what restaurant was that?
Well, that was called the Oregon on Jane and Lawrence. And the second one was on Rexdale Boulevard in Kipling, was called the Montana Tavern.
And what year was that, the Montana?
Montana Tavern went from 1965 to 1987. We were there 22 years, and it was to 87, I think, yeah.
And when your father was here in those early years, we have a nice picture of him together with some friends. Can you tell us about the picture where it may have been taken?
Well, that's taken here in Toronto.
Okay, and yes. What group of people are they?
Pardon me?
Are they, the group of people, are they from Nevolijani?
From Nevolijani, yes.
So they're all people that came with your father or around that time?
Around that time, yes.
Yes, and what association were they with?
No association, they just, no association, just the same village.
Yes, and did you say that they were in a certain club?
Pardon me?
The picture was taken at the club, you said?
No, I didn't say no club.
Okay, sorry, okay.
No.
But it was the Nevolijani Association.
Well, the Nevolijani Association has nothing to do with them. The Nevolijani Association was formed in 1956 here in Toronto.
Okay.
Were you that picture in 1930-some.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't in the Želevo.
No, Nevolijani.
Nevolijani, yes.
Nevolijani.
It was the Nevolijani.
Nevolijani, yeah.
Yes. And so tell us what, when you came to Canada, your father asked for you to come. Did you come by yourself? Who did you come with?
I came by myself. My mother remained back home. And a year later, we bring my mother. In 1949, she came here. And later on, my brother-in-law came along, and he brought after his family around 1951 or 52.
And what was your trip like to Canada, all by yourself, coming that far from Nevolijani? You said you started from Nevolijani and you went where? To Athens?
To Athens, 3 months before I came here.
You stayed there? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the reason you had to stay in Athens was?
Well, because, for what reason? Because that time we had a civil war, revolution, because some relatives with a communist, and the whole surname suffers. Just because my uncle is fighting, is not like in Canada. Canada, if they catch the person that is involved, if over there the whole last name suffers.
So because you had the Strezos
I had cousins that
were
against the government.
So you were waiting to get permission to come.
That's right. Yeah, the only way I could get the permission if I signed that I'm not, Greece is not a country of mine. Greece write me off.
And you had to do that in order to come to Canada.
That's right, otherwise I couldn't come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you came to Canada, your father arranged for you to come here.
Yes.
Where did you land in Canada?
In Montreal.
With a plane?
With a plane.
And then from Montreal?
I slept there one night, and from Montreal, then I came here to Toronto.
Yes, with a train or with?
No, my
bus?
father waited for me there with my uncle
In Montreal.
in Montreal.
So
Yes,
he came to get you in Montreal.
they got me, and we drove back here.
And what was that first meeting like with your father, not having known him all that time?
It was a very good meeting.
Yeah.
We both cried, and we united. And then he was a good father of mine. He did a lot for me and my family and my brother as well. He was super.
So this was 1948. You came to Canada.
Yes.
And you drove from Montreal
right.
with your father.
That's right.
And then when you arrived in Toronto, what did you do?
Oh, when I arrived in Toronto, my father didn't have a house, even though he had a business. He didn't have a house. He was living at his brother's place, at George's grandfather, and I lived there too for 2 years in my uncle's house. So was my father. And when my mother came, she lived there too. And finally, my dad bought a house in 1950, and we moved out from my uncle to our own house.
Where did you get where was your first house?
The first house was at Avenue Road and 401. That was the time when they were building the 401 in 1950.
And while you stayed with your father, what did you do for the meantime?
Well, when I stayed, he sent me to school to North Toronto Collegiate. I went 1 year, I wrote the exams, I got 37 out of 100. Of course, I failed.
Because you didn't know the language.
That's right. And then I went another half year, and I still was not perfect. And by that time I was 20, and I decided to quit. And when I quit at that time, I started working for my uncle in a restaurant.
And what restaurant was that?
The Varsity Restaurant on Blue and Spadina. I worked there for a certain amount of time. And after I quit, I went to my other uncle at Tennessee on Queen and Lansdowne.
And your uncle who had a restaurant in Tennessee, what was his name?
Well, I better tell you the name of the varsity first. Duff and Minus.
That was your uncle?
My uncle that owned the varsity restaurant. And the Tennessee was Jim Minus. Mito Minus.
And at this time, did your father also have a restaurant?
Oh, my father was the original that had the restaurant, because he had since 1937.
And what restaurant was that?
Oh, it was the La Plaza I mentioned.
Right.
That time, yeah.
But you didn't work for your father?
No, because I was going to school that time, and my father sold the restaurant in 1950.
Okay. And when you were here in Canada, just at the beginning, getting settled, did you have any friends from Nevolijani?
A lot of friends.
Who were your closest friends at that time?
The closest friend was Peter Kirazis and John German. They were the closest, but of course, from a village, we knew each other, but not as close friends like the two guys I mentioned.
And did you go to any churches or associations at that time?
Yeah, we're going to Trinity Church, looking for girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your social life like?
Very good life. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
What are some of your memories of what you used to do as young men?
Well, the memories when you're a young man, everything that flies, it's good. And after that, when you get married, you got children, the trouble starts.
So
the worries.
But you went to dances and...
The dances, of course, yes, that's right.
And where would this be?
Yeah, well, we went to Palais Royal, Palace Pier. Is it okay or no? Palais Royal, Palace Pier. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Am I on the camera?
You're fine.
I
you're
didn't
fine.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Palace Pier. Jack Evans, the trumpet player. He was a Macedonian, the best trumpet player in the city of Toronto. And the Palais Royal, Palace Pier. So we're going, and also the one, I forget what's called.
And was there any other sports or associations
Oh,
or bowling or?
Playing football.
Were you involved in?
No, I was not involved because I was in business all the time. I had to work 18 hours a day and 7 days a week, but my friends were involved in the football. I didn't get involved in that.
So you worked very hard at the beginning. How long was that working in the different restaurants for you? Yeah, have some water.
Thank you. No, I only worked those 2 restaurants in my life for my 2 uncles. And after that, after the Tennessee, I went in real estate for J.J. Ellis on Bloor by Panama Tavern. But 6 months I didn't sell anything, and we're newly married with my wife. And she says, "Are you married to me or to the job?" Because real estate is people work daytime. You wait till they come home. They gotta have a dinner. Then you take them out to show them 1 house, 2, 3 houses. By the time you show the second clients houses, it becomes to be 9:30, 10 o'clock. By the time I go home, it's 11, 12 o'clock. And my wife didn't like that, and I quit the real estate and went into the restaurant business.
So tell us about your wife and how you met her, because you were very busy working in the restaurants. How did you happen to meet?
Well, in that time, I had an Irish girlfriend for a year, and then things were getting serious. But with our Macedonian tradition, I said, okay, I see you want to get engaged in that, but I can tell you right now that we got to live with our parents till they die. That's our tradition. We can't leave them alone. And she said goodbye to me. And she said, she left. And after that, the 2 gentlemen I mentioned, Peter Kirazzi and John German and myself, we couldn't, those days you couldn't find girls here. I don't know why. So we imported them from back home. Every one of us, we got girls from the village.
And how did that happen?
How did that happen? My sister came here in 1951 or 50, and she brought a picture of this neighbor girl. When I lived there, she was only 12 and I was 18. I didn't have no idea of her. And she brought a picture, and I liked her. As a matter of fact, I should show you a picture. She's a beautiful woman.
Yes.
And she was a beautiful woman. And then we communicated, and she agreed. She came. We had one month, according to the Canadian government. You marry her or you don't marry her, she go back.
So she came here, or you went?
No, she came here.
She came here.
So, yeah. Then we liked each other, and we got married. And so the same thing the two of my friends did. And they had a good family, so did I. So we had a lot of good time. We charmed around together. We went to dances. We went to holidays together. We went to picnics together.
What year did you get married?
1952.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
like Virginia asked me what month or what day. I know it was in August, but what day I don't know.
Okay. And then when you were you got married, did you have a wedding here in Canada?
Yes, I did.
Yes?
Yeah, the wedding those days was on Bathurst, south of College. Yeah. No, pardon me. Where's the Western Hospital? College or Dundas? South of Dundas, yes.
And when you got married with your wife, where did you live?
Oh, we lived together with my parents till they died.
Okay.
Yeah, in one house. We lived on Avenue Road 20 years, and after that we bought a house on a golf course in 1970 till 5 years ago. I lived there and I sold it. At the golf course by Van Petrov, was a neighbor of mine there.
And this is at?
Bayview Golf and Country Club at Steeles and Leslie.
Steeles and Leslie. And while you were married now, then you continued to work in the restaurant business?
Yes, yes, yes.
And eventually you had your own?
Yes.
Okay, and when was that?
The one was in 1956 to 65.
What was it called?
Oregon.
Oregon? Uh-huh.
Oregon.
And it was located?
Jane and Lawrence.
Okay. And then?
And then the other one, which was a big one, 300 seating capacities, was on Rexdale Boulevard in Kipling from 1965 to 22 years, 1987 or somewhere out there. Yeah.
And during this time, your family was growing. Tell us about your children.
Well, my family was growing, but they didn't see the father too much.
Yes.
Because, like I said, when you work so many hours, you come home, you want to catch up some sleep because you got to go back to work. But I give an awful lot of credit to my wife. She was a good woman, and she made sure that the children get a good education, which they did. One is a criminal lawyer.
And what is his name?
Louis Strezos.
Okay.
And the other one is a chartered accountant, and he's a partner with a Deloitte firm. Mm-hmm. And his name is Tom Strezos. That's married to Marilyn Trento.
Okay. Who is the present president of the Canadian Macedonian place?
Yes, yes.
Okay, wonderful. And tell us about tell us a little bit more about those years when you mentioned that you were busy with your work, but at the same time you also had some time for socializing.
Yes.
Tell us about what your social life was like. Was it with the Nevolijani Association?
Yeah, we had banquets, mm-hmm. We had picnics.
Were you part of the association? Were you involved?
I was a president for 3 years.
When was that?
My memory is gone. I can't remember the time when I was a president, but not too long ago. And they made a movie of our association, and I held a speech to our members and to Nevolijani.
That was for the anniversary, right? Was it?
That was it. That was a Dragunov. I don't know if you heard the name. He was one that put the video together. Mm-hmm. He did a lovely job. So that's.
And you were celebrating an anniversary for the association.
Yeah,
was it 50 years or
50
years?
Yes.
And you were the president at that time.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So most of your activities were involved with our
village.
With the village.
With the village.
And
yes.
what kind of activities did you have with the Nevolijani village?
I didn't have any activities. I had no time for activities. Just as I mentioned, we went to dances when I was working daytime. Then we went to the dances. If I worked night, I couldn't go. Mm-hmm. So any activities, I didn't participate in football. We used to go to bowling and to a pool, but not too often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
We go to hockey, watch hockey, and not too often, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And these were groups from your village?
From my village,
playing?
yes. I always associated with groups from my village.
Mm-hmm. Did you continue being a member of the church?
St. Clement's?
So, yes.
Well, when I joined in, I was up at the age, and then I became a senior. So I'm still a member, but I don't contribute. I just donations.
Mm-hmm.
I give donations
to the church, right?
To the church, yeah.
And when you had your businesses, did you have them on your own, or did you have partners?
No, my brother-in-law.
And his name?
Bill Tsaparis. Tsaparis.
So he was always a partner with...
Yeah, with both restaurants. He was a partner with the both we had.
Right. Are the restaurants continuing, or they have been...
No, the one on Rexdale Boulevard, we leased a building to the TD Bank for 25 years. And now they move out of there for 2 years. We can lease it and we can rent it. We have a problem because it's a big expense. Realty taxes are $48,000. Then you get gas, you got hydro, you got water, you got sprinklers. So it becomes very expensive carrying it for 2 years now.
Right.
Hopefully, we pray to God that we can sell it or lease it.
Absolutely. And tell us about your grandchildren. You have from your son and
Yeah, I got two of each.
Okay.
My daughter's got two daughters.
and their names.
I shouldn't have mentioned my daughter was divorced. She remarried. She's got two children from her previous husband. She's got no children now.
Okay.
And
what are your grandchildren's names?
the older one is Monica, the other one is Krista. And the last name is Namavsky. Namavsky. You probably know Nune, uncle's nephew. And the other one, Tommy's, there are two boys. The one goes to University of Kingston, second or third year. The other one at Ryerson here. And the older one is Nicholas, and the second one is Lucas. And my son's younger son is Matthew and Megan. Yeah.
Okay.
So it'd be nice. We're going to have Thanksgiving, the whole family together. Looking forward to see them.
Okay. And with your coming to Canada at such it is a younger age, but you were almost an adult, right?
Yeah, right.
You spent a lot of time having to work and making a living here in Canada for your family.
Yes.
Tell us, what advice do you have for the younger people? What do you think is important for them to succeed, as you have really from coming from Macedonia and now being able at this point to have had a full life?
Well, in my experience, if you want to be successful, you have to work. Not just to work, and also take chances. Now, not necessarily you can always make a success by taking a chance, but if you don't, then you're going to keep working for others. So you have to take chances, open up your own business, or do whatever you qualify for. And also save money, because I didn't save. I was not saving my money. I was a spender. So if my kids hear me, they know that I spend money like water, but I still okay, thank God. So.
And you spent a lot of time working, and in between you volunteered your time to the Nevolijani Association.
Yes.
You also donated to churches, like you mentioned, to St. Clement. And
most of the money I donated is St. Clement's, but I donated to all the churches, and also I donate for the one in the old country.
In Nevolijani?
No, the one Novodensko, Cerciat, that's building.
Yes, the priest.
Yeah, that's right. I also.
Yes, that's building a church in.
So I donate. I donate wherever I can.
Yeah. Tell us, what is it that motivates you to have volunteered for your association and to continue donating? What is it that motivates you to do that?
Motivation makes me motivated because back home we didn't have much. It's just year-to-year survival. And we come to this country, Canada, which most of us are happy, otherwise we won't be here. And Canada gives us the opportunity to make money if we have the capability. And that's what I like, and that's what I can say.
So you want to help the community?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay.
But as much as I can. I mean, I'm not go overboard. Don't get me wrong.
No, but what advice would you have for other Macedonians of your generation as well?
Well, with other Macedonians, we should be united. We're not united. Where I live in a retirement home. I'm not at the old age home here. At the retirement home Tridel, I've been there 5.5 years, and I see there's an awful lot of Jews there, Jewish. I mean, God bless them, and they help each other. Doesn't matter. Once they know you're Jewish, they help each other. We're jealous people. If a guy opens up a business, we want to see him go bankrupt.
Mm-hmm. And on the positive side, we've also come together to build Canadian Macedonian Place.
Yes.
Right? So what would you suggest to people who are, thinking of settling down in their older years?
Well, this is a place. This is a good place. So now, in my case, that I'm there, I should have been here because I needed to convalescent.
You have special needs.
Over there because I got very sick. Mm-hmm. I was dying. I have a prostate cancer, and I got infected. It went to the urine. From the urine went to E. coli. From E. coli went to the disc.
So lots of complications. You've had health complications.
Yeah, and
yes.
then I was 12 weeks under intravenous. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm there at Tridel.
It's great that you're feeling better and you're here with us.
I'm pretty good, thank you very much.
That's great.
Yeah,
yes.
pretty good.
Congratulations.
I try to be active as much as I can.
That's very good advice, isn't it? Active and doing what we like to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to our interview.
Okay.
We learned a lot of very
I hope I answered
facts.
as much as I could, that's all.
You did a great job, and thank you for taking the time.
I didn't meet you. Who are you? I never saw you before.
My name is Vesna.
Vesna.
Yes.
I heard the name Vesna. Yeah, pardon me?
Okay, that. So basically, we, as I said, we really are grateful that you were able to join us, and I'm so happy that you're feeling much better.
Yeah, thank you, Vesna, very much.
We wish that you lots of years with good health and happiness, and have a very nice Thanksgiving with your family.
To you too.
On Monday.
To all of you.
Thank you.
All of you. Yeah.